concept of the Kihn'sae is something that can apply to any mojo, but is particularly pronounced in the Naiji as far as how many of them choose to interact with the world in this way. And the way of the Kihn'sae is basically to take any methodology, any skill set, any activity or motif, and do it so well that you find all of natural law through it. Because it's something that Naiji basically come wired with, and all mojos have this, but Nai particularly comes this way, is how should I be? That's Ji. He wants to know how I should be as a hero. And Nai tells you that natural law is everywhere around you, and if you pull on it, you will see it. So there becomes an addiction to finding the right things to exert that tremendous Nai will upon, but then also the depth. If you get the right things, this has a lot to do with V fetishing, but the purpose of it does not have to be V fetishing. Naiji can fetish on different things with their V for good or bad reasons, for a variety of things with it, from there. But Kihn'sae is a very noble spiritual use of V fetishing, which is that if you start walking, for example, let's say you're walking, something simple as walking. A lot of Naiji are Kihn'sae walkers. Many of them have, through the history of humans, have preached the Kihn'sae walking method, which is that as you walk, you'll need to learn how you walk, because you can't walk without learning how you walk. Then you'll actually have to use the restroom. You'll need to eat. You'll need to lay down the shade. You'll need maybe to go somewhere because your brain is finding it needs that activity. How do you know that? You walked. Sounds funny, you're like, wouldn't I know that by going to a college counselor that like I need to think about this or that, like, or therapist? But not the Kihn'sae mind. The Kihn'sae mind is everything will reveal itself if you take natural law far enough. All the answers will come to you. So if you start walking, your body, your mind, and the environment will teach you. That's the basic concept. So obviously walking seems that you could bump into almost anything. So many Naiji do that, and they may not think themselves as Kihn'saes, but they are. They're trying to learn how one walks from A to B, doing everything right according to natural law. That's Kihn'sae in a nutshell. How to go from A to B and do everything right according to natural law. But a lot of Naiji will often take things that seem more fetishy or like a hobby or career, almost like a dilettante, in that they will, by dilettante, I'm not talking just sort of like haphazard rich person, I'm talking more like superhero who uses all their money to basically pursue some strange hobby to an excessive degree of skill. And that is because if you take, for example, photography, and you keep working on photography constantly, you actually have to get better at knowing where to go to take pictures. You have to know how to see people. You actually have to know how to use the camera. You know what the limits of technology are. The more you keep going in that field, you'll get better. Next thing you know, you'll be so good you have to write a book. Maybe you're so good you have to go on camera and talk to people. It'll keep, and you just keep going towards greatness. That's basically what you do, is you basically try to become great. And now as you become wired understanding that only natural law decides who is great and who is not. Species that work great, they went extinct. Species that are great, for however long they are great, they stay and they thrive. So it's kind of cool to like do a laboratory experiment. It could be martial arts, it could be photography, it could play a musical instrument, to attempt to take that as far as it can be taken. And as you do that, you'll find your limits. You'll find the limits of pianos, for example. The limits of you, the limits of pianos, the limits of the piano listening ability of audiences, the limits of piano echoing stuff on technology. So basically you, the piano, the non-human environment and the human environment. Those four major kind of factors, if you take anything far enough out, it will teach you how to be great. You just have to go farther and farther and farther and farther, so you're always doing something new and in better and better territory. Because one thing the Naiji often share in common is you'll see them sometimes associate with people who seem to be of radically different fields. And if you talk to them, you'll ask why. They'll usually say something to this effect. It has to do with the quality of the person, meaning they may not even know this themselves, but they respect them as a fellow Kihn'sae. And Naiji was a Kihn'sae, for example, at being a doctor of radiology. They may hang out with other doctors of radiology, I'm sure, but if they are truly the best of the best of the best, they also probably hang out with, if they do hang out with anyone, sometimes Naiji are just very loner types, but they will often hang out with those who are equally masterful, even if it's of a different career. The masterfulness is more important than the method of mastery, because the Kihn'sae way is, I could go in and watch a Kihn'sae of cooking, but I could learn a great deal of life by how a chef Kihn'sae does cooking. I could simply watch how they make decisions, how they man up or human up through pain, how they deal with their other people, everything. I'm actually learning about life because they're trying to be the best of that as possible. So for Kihn'saes, it's the quest for mastery, and they want to learn from any other human who is also on the quest of mastery. And the only way to achieve mastery is to know natural law. But there are many lenses. And so true Kihn'sae masters will usually go beyond their own instrument of choice and recognize that there are other kinds of instruments that Kihn'saes can learn to play, such as the Hubble telescope, such as the stock market and the laws of how that works, such as spiritual development. You may find like an artist, Kihn'sae artist of say singing, and they meet a spiritual kind of Kihn'sae, and they learn a great deal from that person because they can apply that to what they're doing. And the spiritual kind of guru person can learn from the artist singer kind of person, because it's all related to being great. Because if you try to take anything out, you're breaking boundaries. And the Kihn'sae way is about breaking boundaries and finding new vistas in natural law. So it's the study of that, which is why many Naiji often have a thing about biographies, particularly about great people. In fact, they often have a thing for great people in the career of choice they're into, but often just are very admiring of great people and the way they got great, even if it's of vastly different fields. It's simply, how does one do that? And it can even be fascinating. You have Kihn'saes that kind of specialize in studying Kihn'saes. That's something I've done, where you basically study lots of people who've taken any Kihn'sae thing to learn natural law really well, and basically check in, like, what'd you learn? Because they're kind of at the forefront. They're taking something that you can study natural law with and going out further than anyone else, including themselves, has ever been.